one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. We have a huge show for you today, so smash those like buttons. We got to talk about Venezuela and its impact on Bitcoin. What does this mean for the cryptocurrency market in general? Because we're also going to look at altcoins. We have all of your favorite altcoin charts today. We're going to chart Solana. We're going to chart XRP. We're going to chart Ethereum. And also breaking news from Bank of America, now going to start pushing Bitcoin to their clients up to 4%. And this isn't just the wealthy clients coming in for the little boutique office. We're talking about every customer out there. Major news, and I'm joined here with TJ. TJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Love our job, love our country, love being in Bitcoin, being in crypto, being in a sovereign place. Yeah, we see the rumor here. We'll talk about that in the show. I'm curious to hear people's things. Rumored that Venezuela owned over 100 or 600,000 Bitcoin, which would obviously be if U.S. takes control of that, a huge boost to the a massive budget neutral way to grow that strategic Bitcoin reserve. But wild weekend. I officially feel like 87K was the bottom. You guys know I've been saying that for a while, but I did pull the trigger and actually buy some alts over the weekend on the news. We obviously markets are up. Bitcoin is alive. Let's go ahead and cover that, and let's get into the show. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, let's start with the rest of the altcoins. Then we'll ask TJ, what did he buy exactly? I want the wallet address. I want the number of tokens. I want everything, TJ. So we're going to go ahead and put all that information out there in the interwebs. We have Bitcoin up 2.6%, XRP up 3.2%. We have Cardano up 2%. Keep scrolling. We got let's see here. We got Chainlink limping in with a 0.9% gain there. Look at Render, though. Render, TJ, do you remember the 8 altcoins I shared? I said keep an eye out on Render, folks. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this. Filecoin, we did talk about. DPen. DPen's glow-up year is going to be 2026. Top 2 projects, DPen followed by DPen. And then we have other gainers here. We have Caspa up. We have XRP, like we said. And it is interesting on a bullish day like today. Bitcoin, one of the top gainers. It was number 3 earlier in the day. Now dropping down to about number 6, number 7.
Yeah, I mean pushing up over like 93.66 on my on the chart I'm looking at right here. So yeah, nice to see it breaking out of the uptrend. Let me hear. I know we've got some bears in the chat. I know DCA and Prey mentioned it, and there was another one. But let me hear from the bears. Who thinks? This is what I'm curious to know in the chat right now. Is this a dead cat bounce or whatever you want to call it, a bear trap or a bull trap type rally where we rally up a little bit? Some people are saying 100K. The clear level that we need to secure to reconfirm bullish, or the one that a lot of people are watching, is like that 105, 106K range. But who thinks this is just a fake out and we're still going lower? Who thinks, okay, 87K is the bottom, we're moving in? Okay,
who thinks finding tens of trillions of oil is going to boost an economy, globally speaking, after it runs away from America and starts to trickle to the rest of the globe? But let's 87K.
Dion says 87K again. Beat relief rally prior to capitulation, classic bear market activity. Yeah, bear relief. Good to see. Let's see. So it's interesting. I understand where you're coming from, DCA and Prey. And in 4-year cycles past, this is textbook, like, oh, hey, we're back, and then we go lower, and then we're back, and then we go lower. I just have come to the determination that the 4-year cycle is over. We are on more of a business cycle. It does have a lot more to do with the U.S. refinancing their debt. And what I saw over the weekend, again, see from a macro perspective, makes me believe the dollar is going to remain stronger. Treasury yields are going to come down. There's all sorts of second, third, fourth order of effects from one very precise move that happened this weekend. So,
yeah, and to your point, TJ, you're saying, all right, inflation, we're looking good with a strong dollar. A lot of you listening are thinking strong dollar equals weak Bitcoin price. I don't like where this is heading. when we're talking about a strong dollar, the DXY, we're not talking about that many percentage points in relation to Bitcoin. Bitcoin can jump 40, 50, 100, 200% off some positive macro news, whereas the DXY is only going to move 2%, 5% compared to this basket of currencies. So sure, you might lose, 2% of Bitcoin value compared to if you held in the euro. But when you're seeing Bitcoin pump 200%, you're not worried about that 2% arbitrage. So I do want to, if you're worried about a strong dollar, I would not worry about a weak Bitcoin. Let's talk about the macro events, TJ alluded to. We have something major with Venezuela. Under the cover of night, U.S. Delta Force entered Venezuela. They raided Maduro's safe house. Some say kidnapped him, extracted both the leader and his wife. He had the Nike fit on. We saw it. U.S. officially signaled that it views the entirety of the Americas as its own and is willing to strike unilaterally to maintain that dominance, part of the Monroe Doctrine. You probably read about it a lot over the weekend. I'm not going to bore you with that. Venezuela, why is this so important for the markets? Well, they sit on 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves worth roughly $17 trillion, the largest reserve on earth, surpassing even Saudi Arabia. This is where you're seeing this Monroe Doctrine on steroids. America is going to basically dominate the Western Hemisphere. But what is the Bitcoin angle? Where does Bitcoin fit within this broader story? This is why it's important. If a sitting head of state like Maduro can be removed from his home overnight, what is truly safe if you're a world leader and maybe you're pissing off some powers that be? Gold, we might say, well, maybe they just want gold. Do you remember Saddam Hussein, how much gold he had? What happened to Saddam's gold? It got taken by U.S. forces. Gold in a vault can be seized and reserves can be frozen with a single phone call. So, well, I'm not going to hold it like Saddam. That guy's crazy. I'll just have a bunch of bankers in London hold it for me. Well, guess what? One phone call later, it is seized and it is no longer yours. It was in the city of London. No, you don't custody it. It's not your cheese, not your keys there. But Bitcoin is different. Uncensorable, non-sovereign. The thesis is a lot of world leaders, TJ, are a lot more impressed with Bitcoin, and they like where Bitcoin could maybe, help store their wealth without it being seized by a foreign government.
Yeah, I mean, you got Scott Bessent out there talking about a new Bretton Woods type agreement happening, or a new Bretton Woods type moment. I don't know what his exact words were, but Bretton Woods is basically when the world decided to let the US dollar be a global reserve currency. And I do think we're moving to a world where Bitcoin, gold, commodities and actual value are going to be what backs. I think it's still going to be the US dollar as the vehicle through stable coins, USDT, USDC. But I do believe they're going to be backed by other assets, and it's not a coincidence that we're seeing all these things move in tandem at a specific point in time, with banks custodying it, loans being held against it, the accounting laws changing, the collateral laws changing. All of these things are setting up to allow Bitcoin to be the value layer, while stable coins are the liquid layer that moves around. And you're going to see the most powerful people in the world, be it banks, be it governments, be it nations, holding all of the Bitcoin and holding all of the gold, and everything else being transferred back and forth through stable coins. I do think we're going to see Bitcoin bonds, hybrid type thing in the future. And like I said, this, obviously oil still is a huge part of that. It's a very important commodity out there these days. A lot of people talking about the oil implications. A lot of people, there's other rare earth minerals involved in this deal too. But yeah, I think this shows to a lot of people. I mean, obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, we've been at odds with Russia and China for years now, been very aggressively. They were very aggressive in Venezuela. This effectively killed the BRICS movement, which BRICS was trying to form a trade system outside of the US dollar. That is pretty much dead in the water now. No pun intended. But and so you're gonna see this continue. This is every time I see something like this happen, I'm just so glad I hold Bitcoin and I'm into Bitcoin, because it's one of those things where Bitcoin is the solution in every situation. When it's unknown, hey, it's good to have Bitcoin. When commodities are up, it's good to have Bitcoin. When it's risk on, it's good to have Bitcoin. When it's risk off, it's good to have Bitcoin. But I do believe what we just saw kind of signaled to the markets it's okay to go risk on again. That's why I did. And we'll talk about the altcoins later in the show, exactly what I bought and why. DZ's got a bunch of good charts to look at. We're already seeing it reflected in the charts. And yeah, I think we're going to flip 100K. I think we're going to flip 105, 108 and start clearing all those levels for the chart people to be happy. But have always been a macro investor. And to me, this was the macro signal I needed.
Oh, you want to talk about line in the sand? I have the insane, most craziest line in the sand for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin does have to cross this little. I want to give a shout out to Caleb Franzen for identifying it. But then I want to give myself a shout out for seeing something deeper into the charts. And just real quick, TJ, where would they email for the trivia? This is David Arnold.
Yeah, so I think some of this got mixed up. It's email office@hitnetwork.com. I think it ended up, some of the emails went to another one. We tracked a couple of them down, but if there was one missing from back then, email office@hitnetwork, and we'll make sure to get you connected with the folks over at Bitcoin IRA, right above these.
All right. Well, speaking of Bitcoin, maybe we're going to connect with Venezuela's Bitcoin. Does Venezuela have a secret stash of Bitcoin? What are the facts on the ground here? This is kind of the analysis. Venezuela, potentially 60 billion Bitcoin shadow reserve. Markets are focusing on the 17 trillion in oil that Venezuela owns. But what they don't know, Venezuela is one of the largest active Bitcoin holders in the world, saying similar in scale to both MicroStrategy and BlackRock. This is where I would say the root of this story comes from. The regime likely converted $2 billion worth of gold proceeds into Bitcoin years ago at an average price of 5K. This is going to be around 2018, which would have been around 400,000 Bitcoin. As the Petro experiment failed, they pivoted to using Tether as a way to basically sell their oil. However, Venezuela began to wash that Tether, so they would sell oil, they would get Tether. I don't know why they say wash. They would then trade that Tether into Bitcoin. Why? Well, they recognize that USDT retains the ability to freeze addresses. So if Russia were to buy, let's just say $1 billion worth of oil, they put Tether, hey, I'm going to send it from my wallet to your wallet. Tether could freeze that. It could just be brick there. It is essentially stuck there forever. And so we keep scrolling. This is going to have major implications when you see where they're at on the scale. Venezuela, right below MicroStrategy, above the U.S. government, a little bit below IBIT. And I mean, we're knocking on the door more than halfway to Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet. Now, TJ, we're kind of discussing the likelihood. It might be unlikely they hodled from 5K. That would be my guess. If you're looting the country by printing excessively, why wouldn't you also be selling Bitcoin and pocketing the change?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't think we're going to know for quite some time. I don't think there's going to be a lot of news and information on this. Even if they're getting it.
The CIA takes it, is what you're saying.
They'll
take it.
Yeah, they would if they could.
If they could, and they wouldn't tell us.
But we couldn't even get a straight answer on where the U.S. Bitcoin was that we were supposedly already custodying. People
we
within our own
can't get a straight answer on Fort Knox gold.
Right. So
we can't expect anything, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a straight answer on this. From my perspective, if a country has been kind of basically a drug cartel hub, I mean, that was basically a drug-run government for the last 20, 25 years, I wouldn't be surprised at all for them to have a large stash of Bitcoin. They were also outside of U.S. dollar sanctions in a lot of ways. So I would expect that they had a fair amount of Bitcoin, but how much? Did we get it? Will we be able to use it? Who knows? But it's still very interesting. It'll be a very interesting story to cover, because I do think as this next decade rolls on, which countries have the largest strategic reserve of Bitcoin is going to matter as much. Not as much as their gold reserves, but as time goes on, it's going to matter more and more and more, and maybe within our lifetime matter more than gold reserves. We'll see.
Yeah, there is another Venezuela Bitcoin angle. The replacement might be very, very pro Bitcoin here. The opposition leader, this is Machado. She won the Nobel Peace Prize. She is very, very pro Bitcoin, called a lifeline, vital means of resistance. That's not him. Or her, I should say. There she goes right there. Let's go to the article. So it's Machado. It's Maria Corina Machado. She's one of the three looking to replace Maduro. And attention is turned to the transition to new leadership. And one of them is a Bitcoiner leading that charge. She was the winner of the Nobel Prize in 2025. Not the second. We're going to look at the most recent odds on Polymarket to see who's going to be the potential replacement. It was 28% at one point. Looks like it maybe has changed since then. Trump said the U.S. would run Venezuela until a new leadership is established. It's creating a little bit of uncertainty, probably very justified after Iraq and Afghanistan. Venezuelans found a lifeline in Bitcoin during hyperinflation, Machado said, using it to protect their wealth and to finance their escape. It has evolved from a humanitarian tool to a vital means of resistance. We're grateful for the lifeline Bitcoin provides and look forward to embracing it in a new democratic Venezuela. The most recent odds, let's hit refresh, although this does refresh with pretty good API. She is only 18%. Down tremendously. Whoa, there's a lot of arbitrage right there. It does look like Delcy Rodriguez. Delcy Rodriguez is who Trump said he is open to working with her. They said they would run indefinitely until a safe, proper, judicious transition could be arranged. Didn't raise the prospect of elections. He said it would be tough for Maria Machado to play a major role, saying she lacked popularity. Instead, he expressed willingness to work with the VP, Delcy Rodriguez, Maduro's vice president, hardline socialist regime stalwart. So she's still going to be part of that regime. Oil, love this news. I think Chevron, they were the last remaining U.S. oil major in Venezuela. They gained, as did their rivals, ConocoPhillips and ExxonMobil. So the markets like it, definitely, broadly speaking. And we might not stop there, TJ. They're saying the rest of the hemisphere is on the menu.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, this is a definitely geopolitical, economic positioning, to say the least. That's been going on for a long time. Like, if you don't realize what's been going on, this is not new. But I'm curious to hear from the chat. I know you got a lot of people flying back and forth in the comments in here. What do you think about this move? Is this good? Is this bad for the U.S.? Is this good? Is this bad for Bitcoin? I'm just kind of curious to get the people's thoughts here. My take is it's good for strategic positioning for the U.S. and it will also end up being good for markets and Bitcoin, which is why I moved back in with some of that cash. But obviously it's a very polarizing move. Yeah, somebody's saying it's illegal. Well, that's actually not true. If you care about legal and law and politics, like I don't really care about all the politics. Technically, once he deemed them terrorist, a terrorist organization, it's basically outside of international law. That was kind of the purpose behind that. So it was perfectly legal.
Andrew Tate's assessment from 3 years ago holds up well today. Laws aren't real.
Yeah, exactly. Laws aren't real. They're only for the people below
who have the guns, who have the monopoly on violence. And it ain't us, folks. It ain't us. Now, it might not stop there. This is just a couple ideas that the Trump administration is floating. Maybe Colombia. He did criticize Colombia over cocaine trafficking. Said a new military operation focus on the country. Sounds good to me, according to Reuters, while also warning that something's going to have to be done in Mexico. I'll stop with the impressions. Colombia is very sick, too. Run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long. Reporter then followed up and said, "Do you mean Hunter Biden?" He's like, No, I don't mean Hunter. I was joking. That didn't happen. But they do have the audio if you want to listen to it from the White House there. So maybe Colombia, maybe Mexico. Looks like it might be spreading out from there. And it's not just oil. Palantir. Big bump in Palantir. Of course, we have been very vocal about buying Palantir, started years ago, still holding a nice, comfy position. And I will say in this new regime, it does seem like Palantir is going to keep running, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Palantir, I saw Palantir pumped on this news, which obviously means markets believe they had some of their technology had some involvement in the
precision. The rumors are Palantir is behind the energy blackout. They shut down their energy. They are able to just wipe out a country's electricity. I think maybe in a region. So I'm saying, that was Palantir behind. The markets are suggesting potentially
Palantir was at least involved in some way, shape, or form.
I saw Peter Thiel. He was in the helicopter. Yeah. Hit the button.
I do think I saw another post too when it's talking about the robotics industry, humanoid robots. Obviously, people understand Tesla is very involved in that. They're involved in the physical construction of the robots. You've got NVIDIA with the compute and Palantir with a lot of the execution and knowledge and stuff of it. So
there's going to be Tesla trucks on the battlefield, outsteps Tesla humanoid robots, and then they have the Tesla flamethrowers.
That's right. And they're
exactly what's
unstoppable,
happen, right?
Unstoppable.
Oh,
no, it's probably
and then it's like the commercial, the Tesla truck's going to be like it's towing a tank. NATO tank.
No, I think we're moving into a much more precise and like small scale version of warfare. I think we're not really going to see humanoid big trucks and big things out on a battlefield. You're going to be seeing teeny tiny little drone swarm armies that are going to be able to move through your like HVAC system and then
Yeah, they're
just
going to be the
boom,
size of
pop out.
pigeons, not Gundam fighters.
I'm thinking like mites, like teeny tiny, but like bazillions of them, and they can now coordinate in, and
I
communicate
like
with each
pigeon
other.
because then you get a little kinetic energy angle. It's hard to get kinetic energy from something insect size there.
I see this guy saying I'm willfully blind. I know it's about oil. What do you mean? Of course it's about
Yeah, we
oil.
led with the 17 trillion.
Yeah, you picked up 17 trillion in assets. Well, we want to be able to print a lot of dollars, but we want to be able to keep oil, inflation down. So they're going to use this to keep gas prices down. That's going to massively impact the inflation numbers. They're going to print still a ton of money. You guys have been hearing me talk about this big print that they were going to be printing trillions of dollars, and people are like, where, how are they going to find cover for that? Well, they just got it right there. Just like the end of 2019 when the banks were having liquidity problems and we needed to print a ton of money, all of a sudden this giant global thing, COVID happened, and hey, all right, we got to print way more money than we printed in 2008. Well, guess what? Now we've got another thing that gives us justification to print a insane amount of money, which they had to do anyway. And yeah, they're going to use oil to do it. They're going to use that to, who do you think is going to get the money that's getting printed? These oil companies that go help rebuild their infrastructure. So, yeah, hyperinflation.
I'll have to look into the oil to China thing. I mean, is that true? Because China buys very cheap, below market price oil from Russia. So, I mean, are they really buying our market price oil? I'll look into that. But
this was a big part of it. China was getting their oil from Venezuela. Like they were there. That's the other thing that's very not a coincidence. The Chinese delegates were there to meet with Maduro. They had landed hours before we snatched them. So yeah, China and Russia both are trying to get oil from there and other places in the world because they don't want and nobody wants to dig in their own backyard. And so if the only place China can get it now is from Russia themselves instead of other places like where they were getting it, Venezuela, Drew was telling me also was a big landing port for a lot of what BRICS was doing. So yeah, there you go. Oil from Venezuela accounts for approximately 4% of China's total crude imports.
So 1 out of 25 barrels.
But it's still a strategic negotiating advantage. Now this starts a whole other conversation about Taiwan and chips and NVIDIA and all that stuff. We don't probably have time to get into that today. I know we got a lot of actual crypto stuff to talk about. So
listen to All In 2 weeks ago because they say, well, they're just rebuilding all those chips. Factoring machines, the ones that you see in the Dutch, I think in the Netherlands is where those machines reside. So they might not have to put troops on the ground if they can just replicate all their machinery. So interesting angle, just a new way to think about that. But let's talk about the charts. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about the price action. Enough of what's going on south of the border. DZ, his last name's Valdez. He just wants to talk about this all day. I want to talk about Bitcoin, damn it. So now let's get into the charts. I'll give a shout out to Caleb Franzen. He did put this on my radar. Structurally, an important level for Bitcoin. I hope you're sitting down because when I zoom out, you're going to fall out of your chair. And if you're standing, you're going to keel over, everybody. So this chart he's talking about, structurally, very, very important level for Bitcoin. You can see, we kind of came down into this area in November. We're looking at the 1 hour charts here. Rejected. And I zoomed in on the price. I was like, wait a minute. This is like 92 to 94. 92 to 94. I kept thinking about it. 92 to 94. I'm in the shower. 92 to 94. I woke up screaming in the middle of the night. 92 to 94. Sweat was dripping. And then it came to me. TJ, it finally came to me. Wait a minute. That was an important level previously. So if we go here, I switched it to the 4 hours just so we can scroll. You can see this is an area we kept retesting. So this is what it looks like on the 4 hour. But if you look, this is where we were February of 2025, and then we broke out of it in April 2025. And if you notice, that looks, I would say, very, very similar. So when you look at this, I think I have, this is today. And when I put it like this, that's months ago. Today, months ago. And I could play with this and make it look a little bit better there. Today, months ago.
Yeah.
And if you look, kind of came into, this is a very, very, very important level for Bitcoin. This started all the way back November of 2024. So this is kind of the first pause for the Trump pump. And if you fast forward to where we're at today, we're trying to break out. If we can flip this into support, It's going to look very good for Bitcoin. That dead cat bounce might be the ninth live for that cat. It might be alive and it's jumping on top of your counter and it's going to start knocking over everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is very, very strong level to get over that 95K, 94K. I mean, we're right at the top of it right now.
We're testing
so
it, baby.
yeah, we'll see if we can cover it the rest of this week. It's funny. I saw Frank had the same levels pulled up. He was in a long that was looking to the side. I guess his long hit because this played out exactly the way he was playing it. He had it up on the screen like, oh, you're in a long, and he was already up a little bit. He had a long from like 87, and he's like, yeah, if I get,
I'm in 12% of a trade. I closed half. I've closed half. So 50%, 25%, 12.5%. Just checking in. So yeah, doing good here. We're up 22%. So pretty good closing it just for only having 12% of the position there. So that's a Bitcoin charts. I want to throw that on your radar there. This is also breaking news. Bank of America has begun recommending that its clients allocate up to 4% of their portfolios to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Just took them 17 years to make the shift, but better late than never. They're going to have their wealth advisors recommend the ETFs here. It is more of a routine part of its U.S. wealth business, allowing advisors across Merrill Lynch, Bank of America Private Bank, and Merrill Edge to proactively recommend these Bitcoin ETFs. They have 4: Fidelity, Bitwise, Grayscale, and BlackRock. If you look into it, it's because it's just the most liquid. There's the most volume there. Until now, it was limited because we covered this news initially. And we're like, well, all right, this is kind of big news. But, if you kind of read the details, it's kind of smaller news. Now it's big news because it was limited to eligible wealth clients, and advisors were constrained to serving these client-initiated requests. It's just a fancy way of saying, I got to keep my lips zipped unless you bring it up first. I don't, it's like a secret society. You give me the Van Buren 8. All right, I know you're in the secret society. Now, okay, you finally brought a Bitcoin. Now that you've done that, I could recommend it. But they couldn't just cold recommend Bitcoin. Now they can, and they've spread it out to more advisors here. It means advisors can now recommend these spot ETFs proactively, and it frames them as a roughly 1 to 4% sleeve for suitable clients, subject to the risk profile regulatory requirements in their jurisdiction. So, different areas are going to have different rules. This is huge. This is a huge shift, gone from in the back room of this one building. If the guy brings it up first, you're like, all right, finally. Yeah, I got a little Bitcoin for sale. Now you walk in, hey, we got Bitcoin. That's a major shift. Is much more bullish for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's more like they're going to reach out to their customers and recommend. So it's not like we have Bitcoin. It's more like, hey, you should highly
consider.
Sign
on the door now.
Yeah, there's a sign on the door. They got a PowerPoint presentation up in the background, like, hey, you should highly consider Bitcoin. Here's why. I want to say, I don't know about this delineates between their wealth management or how the breakdown is, but they've got trillions. I think $3 or $4 trillion in assets under management. Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. So 4% even of that, I think, is getting somewhere in the $150 billion range to going into Bitcoin. And I expect many others to follow suit in this, and we're seeing that across the board. Again, you guys are going to get tired of hearing me talk about the Clarity Act and the market structure, but I believe that's slated to happen. This is another kind of motivator that got me off the sidelines with some of that cash this weekend. Is I believe that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 days, something like that, like late January. When that happens, yeah, there you go. Okay, you've already got it. You're ahead of the curve.
Breaking news, everybody. Yeah, I saw a lot of people just acting like it's getting signed today.
No.
You just got to be, folks. That's why you watch Discover Crypto. That's why you're hitting that like button. That's why you're sharing this if you're watching on X, because we're not just pulling rumors out of the aether and saying, all right, buy everything. We're just trying to give you the facts on the ground here. It's the U.S. Senate Banking Committee is going to have the markup on January 15th. Markup is basically where they reconcile the House bill and the Senate bill, and then we're getting the steps where we're going to get a vote here. And Trump, is going to sign this. This is all but an assurance there. It's just going to come down to, can we get the Elizabeth Warrens to stop, putting the brakes on this?
Yeah, the banking,
get that.
The banking cartel, the banking broads, are they going to bless it and make sure that they're getting coverage they need within this thing? I think they'll get it figured out. And that's part of why I moved, Is it risky to move before this stuff happens? Yes, but that's how you make the most money, is by taking action before the news drops. And I do believe once this news hits, you will see markets react very quickly.
That is a lesson from my book. I forget which chapter. I think it's in the 30s. Anticipation is the oxygen of an asset.
I like that. Yeah, got to
It's
risk
just
it
a
for the
fancy
biscuit.
way of saying
You know?
buy the rumor, sell the news. Just a
Yeah.
fancy way of saying that.
Hey, I like it.
All right. Well, let's get into the next story here. Gold. This is a chart I almost didn't believe. I had to track myself here. Bitcoin price and gold refuses to break down. Higher low for years. We've looked at this chart. I was like, I don't remember looking this bullish. It's 3-month candles with a log chart. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Now we're talking about log makes it more bullish. Longer time frame gives it more accuracy. And I forgot to mention, this is December 30th. This post right here is from December 30th. And so you don't see Q1 2026. When you throw in the candle for Q1 2026, it's only, we got plenty of time, 2 months, 27 days. It's only a few days. This is a good start. Nice little start there. And this is insane. I'm not even going to say this is going to be accurate, but the ascending triangles are bullish. According to the historical backtest, ascending triangle have a 68% success rate. Okay, you do get a bullish breakout 2/3 of the time, and if you measure it now, again, I know this is log, so take a little bit of dubiousness. Look at the maximum time we get 2 touches. So we touch the bottom and we touch the top here. Again, this is a log chart. I know. 285 ounces of gold for every Bitcoin. 285. Jeez. That's a little nuts. But let's just what if? What do we got here? 285 times, what is it, about 4,400? Something like that. One Bitcoin will be 285 ounces of a 4,400 asset. And that's going to give us a total for one Bitcoin equals 1.2 million.
Okay.
1.25 million there.
That'll do, pig.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little, maybe in a long enough timeline. Maybe there's only 21 million Bitcoin.
Yeah, give me 10 years. Gold. Give me 10 years. I think we'll get there.
I like it. All right. Well, I'll tell you, who's going to help us get there. Michael Saylor. They bought more. He bought more. It looks like 1,200 Bitcoin. This is going to increase their reserve to 673,000 Bitcoin. 62 million, but a win is a win. They are now at 2.25 billion here.
That's their cash reserve. So they increased their Bitcoin reserve, and then they increased their dollar reserve by 62 million. So there's, and this is the part I feel like nobody likes to talk about. So they're sitting on a huge stash of Bitcoin and $2.2 billion in cash. So not only do they not have any obligations, debt obligations until 2027, they've got plenty to fund them for a very long time. So the FUD about strategy going under or getting margin called is nothing. I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. And anybody who's pushing that narrative either is disingenuous and is looking to deceive and trying to create a bear narrative, or they truly don't understand strategy at all, because there's no short-term risk of a default from strategy causing a massive sell of Bitcoin. So you guys just need to get that out of your head.
Wait, did you say FUD?
I did say FUD.
FUD.
Yeah.
Oh, you want some FUD? You want some? All right. Look, we're getting a little too bullish. It's time to get a dose of reality. Take a shot of real life here. We got 2 open CME gaps. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. We're going to kind of zoom in here. So you can see one here. You can see one there. Holiday week. It's a little bit funky. If you look, Yeah, we do got one. I back tested a little bit. So this is basically Friday close to Monday open. You can see, we do have a gap basically right here. So we have a CME gap right here. Not what you want to see. So Friday into the Sunday night open, Monday morning open, big gap there. We also got one from the New Year's Day. This is going to be boom right here. I was wondering, well, what about these shorter, smaller gaps? Have they been filling lately? Yes, they have. You can see it opened here. Boom. Immediate wick. Next candle. Fully got it. Then we go right here. You can see we open higher. Boom. Opens with a crazy wick to the downside. We see one here to the downside. Boom. What do you know? Next few hours, we're pumping. Look at this one. This is a fairly large gap. Boom, 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 boom. We get there. We close it here. Not the first hour, not the second, not the third, that fourth hour. Oh, look at that wick. Oh, yeah. We closed that gap, baby. And then, you just keep going further and further. You see, we are typically closing these. So the one from New Year's Day, this is It's about the longest we've been in a while without closing this
Mhm.
gap. So a little bit of a warning, folks. We might have some sort of scam flush to 88K.
Yeah, they do. They do typically close. Now, usually the people like to look at them on the dailies, but you could
Yeah,
definitely,
I'm doing that just to zoom in a little
yeah,
bit because you
you
can
can
see
see
it
it better.
still. It just,
Yeah,
it looks a lot better. I've heard, oh, well, wait a minute, CME's a daily. Yeah, you can still zoom
you can
in
still
though.
see the
Yeah,
days.
you
Yeah,
still see it. Just giving
and
us
then
cleaner data so we're not relying on wicks.
this guy's telling us to look at the monthly on some of these charts. I'd just be curious. That might have been. I know.
Okay, we're looking at the 3-month earlier. Let's go to the 1 month on CME. Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty good. Looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Looking at the RSI. Oh, that looks bad. That looks
yeah.
bad. I take
Well,
it all back. We're done.
I do think a lot of the longer time frames are starting to get. We still need to, again, that 94 level you mentioned, 95. We get above that. That's kind of our first area of resistance. Really, I want to see 105, 106 kind of level, and that's when we clear that, and we've got a lot of runway ahead of us. In my opinion, we're kind of back in bullish structure if we get back above 105. Now, again, the bears will say we're pumping up to then dump lower. And that's still within the cards. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. I've been holding and holding and holding. 87Ks now established itself as very strong support. Can we still go lower to something like 70? Sure, it's possible. I just feel like at this point, maybe it's 35% possible that we go to those levels, and 65-70% possible we continue into a bull market next year. So on that was enough for me to pull the trigger there and buy some altcoin.
All right, everybody, smash the like buttons if you want some altcoin charts. We're going to start with Ethereum. We got XRP. We got Solana. You name your altcoin. We get enough comments.
Yeah.
We're going to look at that chart as well, folks.
Yeah, tell me your favorite altcoin. I want to see everybody's favorite alt for 2020. Favorite alt for 2026.
Tether.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look at the Tether chart. That'll be
Let's
making
look at the Tether
interesting stuff.
chart. All right, well, let's start with ETH. ETH, major milestone, hit 8 trillion in stablecoin transfers in Q4, smashing records, doubled the Q2 volume, active addresses, daily transactions also peaked. So we're seeing pretty good stats from ETH. And Vitalik, what's going on there? Don't worry about the missing word. Oh, we're going to worry about the missing word. ETH has solved the trilemma. If you don't know what the trilemma is, let's just scroll down to the bottom here. The trilemma, the complexity of building a blockchain network that sufficiently achieves 1, decentralization, 2, security, 3, scalability simultaneously without one pillar damaging the other. And he says, we've cracked the trilemma after a decade of work. We can now achieve decentralization, consensus, and high bandwidth. Wait a minute, that's not what wait, security's not mentioned at all. Now let's get into what is he talking about? I don't want to read his whole thing. It's now with Ethereum and PeerDAS and ZK VMs, the portions of the network using it, we get proto-dank sharding. Now, well, the ETH founder, he said they're still in the alpha stage. They're performance ready, but require additional security improvements. He's given a 4-year timeline for ZK EVMs, the zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machines, to be fully utilized within Ethereum. I realize I say some of these things. You don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. Zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machine. What are you talking about? EVM is just what you call the broader network. Kind of think of it like XRPL versus XRP. So Ethereum virtual machine is kind of what you call the world's supercomputer. Zero knowledge is just going to be a way of anonymously transcribing data where you know what's going on because you sent it. Other people looking at the blockchain cannot decipher what you're doing exactly. And so they have a 4-year timeline for this. He says once the upgrades are rolled out, the long-running effort to balance decentralization, security, and scalability will be complete. So he's taking a victory lap. Some critics are saying, well, security isn't quite where we want it to be. But, TJ, it's pretty secure network already.
Yeah, that was he didn't really go into detail on security. And my thought on why is because, Ethereum does have a very high level of security. Obviously Bitcoin, most secure network, Ethereum, second most secure network. And, I do think, and he gave us a 4-year timeline. You maybe that make it 5 years, just because, that's how dev usually works. But I will say they did deliver in incredible fashion with the merge. So, technically the team has shown their ability to update and merge and keep everything running seamlessly. Still extremely bullish on Ethereum for me, mostly because almost all tokenization and stable coin issuance is happening on Ethereum. There's some on Solana as well, but for the most part, all stable coin. I mean, there's stable coins getting issued at all sorts of places, but when you're looking at it as volume that matters percentage wise, it's essentially 90% plus, 80 something percent on Ethereum, 10% or so on Solana, and then everybody else gets a little bit of everything left. So I did see tons of ADA and midnight
ADA,
stuff.
I got ADA. I already got the ADA chart pulled up. You're lucky I'm charting ADA in my off time like a freak. So I already have some pretty good alpha for you folks.
And yeah, I was gonna say it might be time for another ADA upload update for tonight.
That's a great idea. Everybody, smash the like button. You want to see a Cardano video? I will rush it out tonight just to get you hot chart action. I don't want that, oh, look good yesterday, but why am I looking at this chart today? I'll give you that hot action, and we'll pump that out tonight. So,
and it also seems like Grok's favorite altcoin is ADA. It was predicting 10x over the weekend. It was doing all kinds of predictions. So that's
like the only one not removing when you're like trying to get the crap out of here. It's like leaving, pulling everything out except for ADA. It's just love some ADA. Grok loves ADA. Is it because Charles Hoskinson went to SpaceX? He went to SpaceX, right, and signed an NDA. We don't know what actually went down there.
Oh, I didn't. No, that's interesting.
That's something we should have. Oh, well, you just would have been like, well, it's an NDA. So maybe we shouldn't have asked.
He's going to
space,
ask
secretly and be like, Morse code, blink me the answer. What are you doing there? All right, let's talk about some ETH charts. We're going to look at Solana. We're going to look at XRP. We're going to look at Cardano here. ETH carving out a bottom, gearing up for the next push here, hitting gear 5 like Luffy. This is pretty bullish, folks, but this almost looked like the start of a cup and handle. Normally you get a cup, you will get a pullback. So maybe expect a pullback around 3669. I don't know why it just happened to be like right there, but it kind of did. So that's the Ethereum chart. Keep an eye out on this. Maybe we can push into this. I suppose we could do a little bit of TA here. We would go from the top of the cup to the lowest point of the cup. And if we were to break out, make sure we're on regular chart. Yep. Gives us 4,700, which, wow, look at that. I could definitely see this playing out. Nice little rejection. And then if we do see that 6K, 7, 8K ETH, a little bit of a pullback and then off to the races, folks. Altcoins, just generally speaking, before we look at Solana, XRP, Cardano, on crucial life support, but setting up a next big leg. This whole article references a post. This whole post references a chart. Let's just go to the chart. What are we doing here? Let's just go to the chart here. This is the chart. It's looking at the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if you look, this is the large cup and handle. But then we made the handle, TJ, it looks like we're making a second handle. And so I wonder if we are going to have this play out, but it's just the old patented cup and two handle, like Trump has to hold a cup,
two-handled cup. Yeah.
Two-handled cup here. Let's just do it. Let's just go ahead and do some moon math here. We could be looking at, just make sure we're on reg, make sure we're on that Reggie Miller. 2 trillion for this other crypto market cap, which kind of fits within this trend. So yeah, I could potentially see that. Maybe something like this. Maybe look something. It wouldn't be that fast. Maybe it's going to be like that. No one knows for sure where the total crypto market cap. You exclude Bitcoin, you exclude ETH, but you do have Tether on here. Yeah. And I mean, what if we just put 10% of that oil on chain? That's 1.7 trillion right there.
Even if you get an addition, if you get to 2 trillion, excluding, I mean, Bitcoin is 1.8 trillion of the Bitcoin and Ethereum, basically what's 60-70% of the total market cap. Total market cap of all crypto is only about 3 trillion right now, or 3.2. So if we were to do that with excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is, the translation is all, or most alts are going nuts. You're getting huge pumps, 10x's, 20x's all over the place. You're getting your low caps doing 50x's, which again seems very, very realistic if we go back into a risk-on environment.
I'm glad you said, take out Bitcoin here. Well, altcoins extremely oversold. This first bullish MACD crossover now flashing on the monthly time frame. It's not even true. The signals only appeared 3 times in history. Oh, I thought it was the first. Is it the first or is it the third? Anyways, once it confirms, which is not yet, we can see one. Wait, it hasn't even confirmed? So it's not even the third? All right, I'm crashing out. But we can see one of 2 outcomes. Another And now you're not even telling me what's going to happen. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the chart. Gosh darn it, these people. All right. I looked at a 1, 2, a 3, a 1, a 2, a 3. A little bit sus, I'll say. He's not including this one suspiciously as we broke down. Although that did look like, hey, guys, it's starting here. We're going to start pumping. But if you look at number 2, we do a nice little breakout, then it pumps. This is huge. This is huge. Let's just say, from right here, that's a 400% gain. So that's your altcoins priced in Bitcoin. So you're gaining Satoshis. You're not gaining dollars. You're gaining Satoshis, which is much more important. And the first one, I mean, it's, it's like a little bit new. I guess we'll do it. This is, don't expect this. That's a 16x, 17x. So yeah, you gain 17x on your Satoshis. But even if you just say, all right, we're shrinking. So we went from like a 16x to a 4x. So, maybe we double here. Double to me seems too bearish. I think we're going to be a lot more bullish than that. Others priced in Bitcoin, your altcoins should be gaining Bitcoin. Just be a little bit wary. It might not be an immediate thing. And we might even pull back a little bit lower before we really, really go crazy. And then we get those 20Xs. Your altcoins are doubling overnight sometimes before we get into that mania phase. But this chart is very, very interesting.
It is when you just go back a little bit so you can see the whole. Yeah, there you go. So you can see the whole thing. Just looking at the bottom, you can see we've remained in oversold much longer than we have in the past. That that money flow chart towards the bottom.
Yeah, things are ready to turn around, man.
Yeah,
we're down 75%. Things are going to turn around.
They're definitely oversold. They, like you said, you pointed out there, it tried to come up and get back into the green.
That's what it fell last time. It fell 75%.
It's it's looking very much risk on. As soon as we refinance this debt, it's fun times for everybody, all assets, all equities. And I do think Bitcoin and crypto will be the main focus point, kind of like AI is going to be a main focal point. And where the attention goes, the money goes oftentimes. Somebody says, I need Arrow to super pump away. Yeah, that's spoiler. That might be one of the ones I bought over the weekend, because I do believe, I was talking about it at 40 cents, I think I ended up, it was more like 45 because I was thinking about buying it while it was at 40 cents. I know some of you guys did because I've been saying like, hey, 40 cents on Arrow is a buy, 40 cents on Arrow is a buy. I think I didn't pull the trigger right when it hit 40. I think it moved back up to 45, 48, kind of in that range. But yeah, definitely accumulated more Arrow. So that's it's one of my biggest altcoin holdings right now outside of the majors. When I go, basically my majors still significantly Bitcoin, a large chunk of Ethereum, pretty good chunk of Chainlink and Aave, pretty good chunk of Solana, and now is Arrow a bad buy? By 100K at 61 cents. Well, I bought 100K at a little bit less than that. Is it at 61 cents right now? Mine was in the 50s, I think. But
pretty good. Looking at Arrow right here, we have 60 cents right now.
Yeah, I mean, see, there you go.
That's right here, right?
Yeah, that's the line we were talking about. We kind of confirmed like this is the line in the sand. So it did get back up above that, and is continuing to run. I'm a big believer, just due to the base integration, due to the Coinbase knows they're custodying a lot of people's assets. A lot of things will flow through Coinbase. Arrow looks strong to me. They're in this big battle, Arrow versus Uni, and which one's better for their fees and their holders, and which one scales in the long term, all that sort of stuff. But for me, I've got VE Arrow locked. I've got some Arrow locks that produce Arrow for me, and then I've got a fat bag of just spot Arrow. So
you're saying your recent investments. I was like, well, how are my options doing today? 30% gain, 17% gain, 30% gain, 35% gain. So we're doing pretty good on the Palladium, folks. Palladium. I tried to turn you to a Palladium pal. I don't know if you listened. I don't know. You didn't want to be my friend, folks, and that's fine. We're gonna be on the yacht together, hanging out with exiles from Venezuela, not the ones from the 40s. Those are different exiles, and they went to Argentina. All right, but God, I shouldn't joke about that stuff. Let's talk about Solana, only the few. Solana, let's do a little chart action on some of these altcoins. Incredibly bullish weekly reversal candlestick pattern. What are we looking at? Bullish engulfing candlestick. This is a heck of a bullish engulfing candlestick. This weekly candle is only 16 hours old. So we still got 6 days, 8 hours on this one. So This is the closed weekly candle as of 8 hours ago, engulfing 1, 2, 3, 4 whole red candles. Huge engulfing candle. I looked at just the last few. Here we have an engulfing candle. We did get a red week the following week, but then it was off to the races. Immediately off to the races. You're looking for not just a big green candle, you're looking for a green candle to engulf the previous candle and even bonus points if you engulf several. So, I mean, you can, I guess, include that one. Off to the races. Here's a good one. We engulfed 2. Woo! Off to the races and then some. I mean, this is when Solana went from $20 to $120. I would say it's pretty good. Another one, I would say this one more closely resembles what we're looking at today, where we engulf several candles at once. Very bullish next week. So again, we're 8 hours into the following week, and I think that's the last one. I mean, now we're looking at $1.30 Solana. So I mean, now take this with a grain of salt. This is USDT was added like literally right here. So this might be more USDT, but again, another very bullish engulfing candle, and we're doing it right now. And so I am choosing bullishness when it comes to Solana.
Yeah, same. I do want to ask for a favor real quick. We have 950 people watching, only 200 likes. If you could stop what you're doing, hit that like button. Sometimes if you're on mobile, you have to close the live chat and hit the like button and then reopen it. We do have a lot of people that started traveling, fell out of their normal routine. So if you guys could, I'd like to get us up over 1,000 today. We're sitting at like 980, 960 concurrent right now. So one thing you guys could do that would really help us out, we don't ask for much, is to hit that like button, leave a comment after the show, and maybe share it with a friend, because we can see YouTube coming back around. We want to bring retail back in, and hey, if retail comes back in, they all start buying our bags, we all get richer. So let's work together on this thing. The meme coin community says, oh, if we all just buy this one coin and hold it, we can send it. Well, if you guys all just share this around, we'll keep talking about your bags, and we'll all get over the finish line there. So I do appreciate that. And just the other thing that's funny, we didn't plan this at all. The other coin I bought 100K of, Solana. So, Solana was the other one that
We've been
I bought.
Screaming how this one's bullish. So, but you didn't buy XRP, which almost looks even more bullish. This is the daily. We are in a falling wedge. Again, a bullish candle, or I'm sorry, bullish chart pattern. And the way you measure is when you first touch the top and the bottom, it gives you a potential short-term target. And so we have a short-term target of a $2.55 XRP. If you kind of look, that's going to be a little bit right below here. So maybe even wick a little bit higher, maybe close to like 270. But if you look right here, it's also kind of where we face resistance. So just an area to pay attention to, but very, very bullish chart for XRP, looking like it wants to break out. Now, Cardano, I saw the spammed ADA. I saw something in the 3-day bull divs. No one else really talked about it. But we did identify this, and you can see the last bull divs we had, very bullish. These were just great times to hold some ADA. Bull div there had a 229% pump. This one had a 359% pump. But I saw something in some just classic line drawing. So this is kind of a higher target, but I don't think we go from 30 cents to 250, right? That's a little bit unrealistic. So I did notice we have this right here, and I did want to kind of chart this. I don't know if it's going to play into there. I do know that looks pretty clean to me. And if we were to, I guess it kind of mostly just starts right here, but this is probably going to be the first, like I would say, sharp rejection. It's probably going to look similar to this. If we were to measure, we're looking at potential $1.18, $1.15, and about 180% pump. So keep an eye out on that area, because it's pretty kind of close to where we pumped after Trump won in November. We pumped to $1.30, but our first cool down was right around that 111 range. So you can see it right there on the 3-day. If we go to the daily, you can see 111 a little bit more cleanly. This is going to be probably where I would predict. I think Cardano, so many people are going to short it at $1. I think a wick into $1.10, 111 is almost more likely than rejecting at 1. I think, TJ, would you agree? A lot of people are going to come out the woodwork to short ADA at $1.
Yeah, or a lot of people, there might be heavy selling pressure at $1. That was one that I wish I had taken some profits around that $1.20 range before. Didn't. And this would be one I almost pulled the trigger on some more ADA at the levels it was at.
I missed the 33 cent window. I said, I'm buying at 33 cent, and it just wasn't there long.
No, it wasn't, and then it's moved pretty quick. It does seem like it's got that volatility going. It's got the attention. Privacy, I do think, is going to end up being one of the main narrative. We've got AI, you've got DeFi, type stuff, but I do think privacy is going to fit in there with the kind of key narratives in this next bull run, and Knight driving it. But that's where even after the interview with Charles, I do think they're both great. But if you've been watching Knight has just crushed it since we did that interview, and continues to. So it's like I'd almost rather I have a fair amount of Knight just due to network activity and other holdings that we had with the airdrop. We've got a pretty fat airdrop of it. I haven't had to buy it, but what do you got? Breaking news?
My wife texted me. I didn't know if it was just a rumor or not, but it does look like he officially announced he's officially out.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Yeah, he's officially stepped down. I meant to mention that too. So, no surprise there.
No surprise. And we're going to end with this security, very, very important story here. Community alert, Ledger, another data breach via payment processor Global leaked the personal data of customers. So if you do, use Ledger, just beware of anyone trying to, maybe contact you. Maybe it'll look official.
Text messages, etc. Don't click any links.
The amount of stuff I get every day is ridiculous. I've had my Ledger for so long now. This sucks to read for the second freaking time. This man's moving to Trezor. Zach XBT, not much better. I have multiple databases of customers here, right? What's the DB for? Is it terabyte? Is there a D? I'm DZ.
Database services is what I would have thought, but
I was figured databases. I didn't know if I was missing a byte, a decabyte.
Oh, deep brain simulation. Oh, it has several meetings.
That sounds like what Elon's working with Neuralink in the secret back room.
Disclosure and barring service. Database system. That's probably.
I guess it's databases. All right. Well, Trezor, not much better. Ledger, second one in recent memory. So I do want to give a shout out to Arculus. It's on my side.
Yeah, it's over there. I can't even point at it for myself, but yeah, Arculus. And this is bad. There's a lot of reasons I don't like Ledger. This is one of them. I don't like the way they've done up. They've had several things that I'm like, this is not good for your customers. It might be good for your bottom line, but it's not good for your users. Battery problems, updates, their Ledger Live system, etc. But losing your customer, having a data breach when you're supposed to be a hardware security company is probably one of the worst things you can do. Not only for the hacking and the texting and the harassment you're going to have to deal with, but for actual physical security. You read the news. It said names and addresses. That's not good. If somebody knows your name and your address, now if you hold a significant amount of Bitcoin on your cue the skinny TJ Arculus. Yeah, it's coming. Stay tuned. I'm gonna be skinny again too. That was my stress skinny right there. So I'm not gonna be that skinny.
What were we stressed about?
No,
just the market.
Everything. So if you have your address on there and you hold a significant amount of your ledger, you should probably move. And that's how inconvenient a hack like this is. This is part of why I love Arculus. Arculus has been securing customer data much longer than they've been doing Bitcoin hardware wallets. Arculus is a company within CompoSecure, a large publicly traded company that does, has many patents on securing institution or traditional financial rails like American Express and credit cards and all sorts of different things. So they have some of the best security in the business. It's an actual metal physical card, can't get burned up, has no batteries. Like it's indestructible, basically. I mean, not as far as I can tell, anyway. Don't quote me on that, but I mean, it takes thousands of degrees of heat and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I use several of them. Make sure to secure yourself, hold your own assets. We're big fans of self custody, and that's all we got. We'll see you guys at the top.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.